Hey everybody, I'm Becki Adams and thank you for stopping by the Scrapbook and Cards Today YouTube channel. Today I'm creating a layout that is featured in the winter 2022 issue of Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine. And I'm using new Color Vibe products from Simple Stories. So I have one of those products here on my desk that I'm just going through, and it's the flower bits. And I believe it is the lights color scheme. And I'm going through and picking out all of the peach flowers because I want to use, I think I use all the peach flowers, the peach and the pink color of flowers out of this package. So I have either 3 or 4 layers of petals per flower. That will make a little more sense here in just a minute. But before I get too involved with all those flowers, I need to work on my background a little bit. So I have a piece of Color Vibe cardstock on the background. I believe this is the bubblegum color. And then the white cardstock on top is the warm white cardstock. So I'm just adhering that piece of white cardstock right in the center of the page on the pink background. So that will give me a nice pink border around this page. I want this page to have a real flowery Valentine's feel to it, and I think I accomplished that one. So you'll have to tell me in the comments below if I accomplished that goal. But here I am just drawing a very light pencil line. In fact, it's really even hard to see here on the screen. But I wanted a light pencil line down the center of the page so that I knew where to place my heart. And honestly, you can place this heart template, or excuse me, make a heart template out of just a piece of scratch paper. I used my Silhouette Cameo to cut out the heart, but you can use a template or just freehand, just any simple heart shape will do. So after I had my heart traced there on the page, I went ahead and erased most of my pencil lines, at least the pencil line that was above and below the heart. And now I want to work on these flowers. So I'm taking each flower and slightly bending the petals up with my fingers. You don't want to crease the petals, just slightly bend them to give them a little bit of dimension. And then as I mentioned earlier, I'm putting at least 3 layers of paper flowers on each flower. And on some flowers, I believe I even put 4. And then I'm also putting a layer of foam adhesive in between each flower layer. So this is a layout that has tons and tons of texture and dimension. It is one, eventually it will go into an album, but probably it will hang up in my office for a few months before it lands in the album. So off camera, I put all of these flowers together. It didn't take me very long, but it is just kind of boring to watch on camera. So I layered all those flowers together off camera, and then I'm just kind of making a heart wreath shape. I'm going to start here at the bottom and adhere the flowers to the background using, you guessed it, another layer of foam adhesive. Now, if you don't want that much texture and dimension on your flowers, you definitely don't have to do that. That was just a personal preference. I really like to have the texture and dimension, but that's not everybody's jam. So you can definitely still create the same look just without as much dimension. The one thing I would say that if you wanted to put this together without the dimension, I would still slightly bend all of the flower petals, and I would only put adhesive right in the center like I'm doing with like I did with the foam dots. If you put adhesive all the way to the edge of every petal on every flower, you wouldn't get that any texture and dimension at all. So that's one thing I would make note of if you do want to recreate this without using all that foam adhesive. So as I'm creating this wreath, I'm just watching for a couple of things. And the biggest thing is I don't want the same color of flower to be right next to each other. So I'm just trying to put a flower or two like in between the red ones so that there's no red ones touching, and the same with all of the colors. There are two shades of pink on this. One comes from the Lights flower pack, and the other one comes from the Summer flower pack. I just used those two kinds of flowers. So it's time to add my photo. I have just one photo to go on this layout, and initially I thought I wanted to tuck the photo into the flowers. And as I kind of played with that, I realized that I really didn't like how it looked. And so I decided that what I wanted to do was to put the photo on top of the flowers so that my photo stood out and, kind of didn't get lost among all the flowers. It's such a cute photo of my niece and I promise she does have kind of a mad look on her face, but I promise she does like me, friends. She was just trying to figure out why I was taking so many pictures of her in that cute pink bow. Anyway, in order to adhere my photo to the background and put it on top of those flowers, you guessed it, I gotta add more foam adhesive. So I'm layering, this is a big roll of, I believe it's 1-inch foam adhesive from scrapbook.com. And I am using that to build up layers of foam so that my photo will sit nicely on top of those flowers. So I think I used either 3 or 4 layers of foam. And then I put a little bit of just tape runner adhesive on the other side of the photo so that it will stick on top of those flowers. You definitely could leave the flowers out if you wanted to, but there are bits of all of those flowers showing, so there really wasn't much I could leave out. So I just decided to put the photo on top of everything and just go crazy with that foam adhesive. So now that I have my photo in place, it is time to add the title. And I went through a couple different options for the title and finally landed on the title that says "So Cute." And these are foam stickers from Simple Stories. These ones come from the Boho Baby Collection. And I thought that was a perfect title for this photo of my niece and I. She looked so cute in her big pink bow. So again, you guessed it, I've got to add some more foam adhesive to these stickers to make sure that they can sit nicely on top of these foam stickers. I didn't want to just adhere it to the background and kind of have the sticker bow in the center where the flowers were. And then for the other portion of the title, the word "so," it works pretty well. I didn't have to add a ton of foam adhesive. It just kind of nestles there behind the word "cute" and fits nicely right in there next to the photo. So now that I have all of my flowers in place, I wanted to add just a pop of greenery. I didn't add a ton of greenery to this project. I definitely could have added more, but again, I wanted to stick really close to that Valentine's vibe. And so I'm just taking a little bit of foam adhesive and adhering some sprigs of greenery around the layout. So in each package of the flower package, the packages of flowers from Simple Stories, there's also some leaves. And I think there's just single leaves, 2 leaves, and then a sprig that has 3 leaves. And what I'm doing is adding the sprigs that have 2 leaves. And I wanted to create kind of a visual triangle, and that's how I kind of balanced where I put the greenery. And then I'm doing the same thing with the sprigs with 3 leaves on them. And that's what I'm adhering now, is the sprigs with 3 leaves on there. So again, I'm just putting them in 3 different places on the layout. In the end, I don't know how much it matters, except that it just balances everything out on the layout. So I wanted to finish up that area there above the title. Felt a little bit empty to me, and I knew that it wasn't going to be a great place for me to bring my journaling down into it. So I used a couple of chipboard hearts. The chipboard is also from the Color Vibe collection. And then I'm not done yet, friends, with adding the bits of dimension. So I'm going back to my packages of Color Vibe embellishments, and I am grabbing 2 things from each color scheme, and that's enamel dots and buttons. So with the enamel dots, I just wanted to put a cluster of enamel dots by some of the flowers in the same color. So I wasn't trying to scatter like different colors all over the page, but just next to, not each flower, but next to some of the flowers, I put a cluster of 3 enamel dots. And then in the center of each flower, I added either a button or an enamel dot. Most of them have enamel dots. I think there's only a couple that I ended up using enamel dots on, but for the most part, if not on all of them, I used a button. Nope, there's one with an enamel dot. So I'm just taking a little bit of glue dots and adhering the buttons to the center of the flowers. You could also like stitch through the buttons with some white thread if you wanted to give it even a little bit more texture. I chose not to because I didn't have floss colors or thread colors to match each flower, and I didn't want to bring white in because I felt like it would draw your eye away from the overall look of the layout. So I'm just adding a few buttons to the few flowers that don't have them yet, and just using glue dots to make sure that those stay in place. I love my favorite color. The Color Vibe is one of my new favorite products. I love that all the colors match perfectly throughout the chipboard, the enamel dots, the flowers, and the buttons. I think it's just beautiful. So last but not least, I'm going to finish putting these enamel dots in place. And again, I'm putting like the peach enamel dots by Peach Flowers and the pink enamel dots by Pink Flowers. And I'm just filling in a few bits around the wreath. I like to tuck a few of the enamel dots kind of under the petals of the flower. I think it just gives it a little bit of interest when the enamel dots aren't like completely visible, when you can just see a little bit of them. So we're just finishing up these last few enamel dots, and then after this I printed my journaling and cut it into journaling strips and put it right on the upper right side of the inside of the heart, and you'll be able to see that here in the close-ups. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this layout come together. This is such a fun project and one of my recent favorites. So thank you so much for stopping by the Scrapbook and Cards YouTube channel, and I will see you again soon in my next YouTube video.